How valuable is it? You have COVID. Is that valuable to you? Or is it more valuable to know, guess what? Given the growth that's happening, as you have COVID in this area, you should avoid this area so that you don't get COVID. Real time is too late. Entire process. And so getting real-time information. That real-time information typically means that we capture lots of information, but we only use 5%. You leverage 95% of the data that you collect, create insight. So the two, the same amount of information overall, is the ability to leverage and use that insight. What typically starts in a smart city, smart cities are fun and filled with use cases, POVs, proof of values, proof of concepts. They're isolated deployments. In a cognitive city, you have a common data infrastructure, so you are talking about system-wide implementations. Because why? Because you need to have data that shares from one asset to the other. Traffic information can help tourism determine who's coming to the area to visit, which can help financial services be able to determine the exchange and the financial systems required, which helps policing be able to understand what areas could be hot pockets based on where people are gathering. All these things depend upon one another. So a cognitive city is fundamentally one that is predictive, is proactive, and it takes a system-wide approach. So that's great. How do you build one of those? How do you do that? How do you build one of those? Fundamentally, the first thing that you have to have is trust. Why is that? Why is trust so fundamental to a cognitive city? If you don't trust, we don't get data. If we don't get data, there is no value. Trust. How much value would you put on trust? How much value would you put on trust? Is there any Facebook folks here? Okay, then I can pick on, I'll pick on Facebook. How did that conversation go on the board? What was the value of trust? It was so valuable, you had to give up Facebook's brand. Can you imagine that conversation? How valuable is the Facebook brand? And you said, I'm gonna give it up because we've lost trust. That's how fundamentally valuable it is. So it's critically important. It's about a $1 trillion economy. So when you think about all the data that we're collecting from you, your financial information, your purchase, all that drives about a $1 trillion economy. So critically important. So what's the issue? We're driving all that data. What's the problem? Okay. My father is an avid car guy. Is there any car fanatics in the room? Car? All right. Yeah, I'm there too, right? Because I'm his son. So I didn't have a choice, right? Didn't have a choice. So we grew up in Chicago. We're going to the car show. And I take my dad to the car show. It's about 10, 11 p.m. We leave the car show and we now fly to the West Coast. So by the time we land, it's about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast, which means it's about 3 a.m. in Chicago. And my dad come off the plane. He's like, God, this show was awesome. Man, Mark is telling me everything to know about this new Mercedes S63 that he really likes, the coupe, and he's asking him all these questions. My dad's like, this is unbelievable, great service. And I said, Dad. He said, what? I said, it's 1 o'clock in the morning right now. It's 3 o'clock in the morning down there. He said, what's the point? I said, I'm not sure how to tell you this, but Mark isn't the kind of person you think he is. He said, what do you mean? I said, what have you told Mark? He's told him everything. What he's going to buy, when he's going to buy, what type of car. I said, well, here's the thing. Mark is not human. You've been talking to a chatbot. Now, they should have told you it was a chatbot, but they didn't. All of a sudden, his whole view of the brand of Mercedes changed. If you ask my dad now, he's a Tesla guy, which is another problem. But anyway, he's a Tesla guy, right? He's a Tesla guy, right? He's moved over. That's the issue when people don't understand context, right? If I ask all of you, do you value your privacy? How many people value your privacy in the room? Raise your hand. You value your privacy? Okay, it's good. Okay, keep your hand up. How many of you go shopping? Keep your hand up. Keep your hand up, value privacy. And how many of you, when you go shopping, you put everything you're going to buy on that conveyor belt? You do that? I thought you said you value your privacy. Everybody sees what you're doing. When you tell me on a diet, I tell the lady at the counter I'm on a diet. She looks at all those candy bars. She laughs at me. Yeah, really? Why do you do that? You do that because privacy is contextually based. It's directly proportional to the value you receive. So in that moment, you say, it's easier for me to get out of this store and this shopping experience and give some of the privacy because the value I receive from it outweighs it. You're able to see that. That's not happening in today's data world right now. It's not that clear. So you see, we call the privacy paradox. You see, everybody's concerned about it. 80% of people say data privacy is growing. They're concerned about collecting data. 30% of people say, I'm just out. I'm going to tap out. But yet, look at all the information you're giving. You're so concerned about it, but you're giving more and more and more of it. It's this privacy paradox. Most users, and I won't name the site, but you go to this site, you see the tip of the iceberg. You click accept, consent, and hope everything's gonna be okay. You just hit it because you want the service. Hit consent, that's good. What you don't realize is you just gave your information to 400 other sites. But you keep hitting that consent button all the time, right? Hit that consent button all the time. So, at Neom in Tech and Digital, the company that I'm the CEO of, this is a major issue that we have to solve. Because if you come to Neom, we have to have an ability to gain your trust because we're building this cognitive platform. You're building this cognitive city. Whether it's a cognitive platform for a country, a community, or whether it's a cognitive enterprise that you're trying to build, right? We're selling, you're going to have to invest in a consent management platform, an end-to-end consent management platform. And it does three things. One, you need a platform that's able to help on the user side, to let that user know that these are their preferences. Here's who has their data. Here's how their data is being used. And guess what? They can't go through 500 different sites with 500 different formats to try to figure out what that is. So you got to solve that problem. Then you got the middle problem. You got to have a data exchange. That means you got to get the people that are data controllers that have the data to buy into that system, right? And they have to buy into the privacy and context concerns. A data controller has to become a data fiduciary. That means they buy into what your consent management platform is. And by doing so, they get the information to know what your preferences are and how they can influence your preferences, meaning what incentives can they offer you to share more of your data so that they can give you more value, right? So they can give you more value. And the last one, you have to have a policy management system. You have to be able to manage it from a control standpoint. These guys need help around compliance management system. So let me give you a really good example. Let's say you're a software developer and you're like, oh, I'm really excited. I got this great idea. It's great, this great program. When people come to visit Neom, I'm going to be able to tell them what's the wait times in certain lines. So if you only have an hour and a half, it's going to tell you go to that store, go to this store, go to that store. Great. That's a great application, right? Uh-oh. It's someone from the US or someone from the UK. Oh my God, the UK, if I get their names, I can't. Oh my God, I'm being in violation of the ROS, GDPR. Oh my God, 2.0. Oh man, what about this? I'm just a software developer. Stop. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to go somewhere else. If the data is available, the developer has to know they can use it. That's why this compliance tool is so important. Okay. So, and we talked about it has to go across all these unique profiles, right? So one of the things that we developed to do this is called MELD. And MELD is a consent management platform, whether you use MELD or someone else. The most important thing is to understand that from an end user perspective, it's got to tell you who has your data. It's got to tell you how that data is being used, and it gives you recommendations. And what it does is, instead of you having to go to 500 different sites and setting your different preferences, it gives you a framework that you can set your preferences once and it's replicated across all, right? But whatever you do, the first lesson, if you're going to build a cognitive city in today's age, is you have to solve the trust problem and you have to deal with that from a consent management platform standpoint. You cannot leave it up to chance. You have to actively manage it. Okay, so now once you figure out that you got this great consent management platform and you solve that problem for a cognitive city, there's also another phenomenon that's a pretty big challenge. We see it every day. If you're a millennial like myself, it's easy to deal with. If you're not a millennial, it can be kind of hard to deal with. And this is the great digitization. Digitizing physical assets. Non-millennials have a hard time doing this. Who knows what an NFT tokens? Think of them as artwork, but in a digital fashion. Why would somebody buy a picture of a Mars house and pay almost $1 million US for it? I don't understand it, Joe. So why are they doing this? Okay. Yes. Was it? Because it's unique. You know what the secret is? How many have seen Jurassic Park? Jurassic Park fans? Oh, this is a great audience. I love you guys. We got the same movies. Jurassic Park. Okay. Remember the Jurassic Park? And they created it around dinosaurs. But how did they control the population in Jurassic Park? How do they control the dinosaur population? They controlled it because they made sure when they engineered the dinosaurs, they were all female. So they said that's how they controlled it. But what happened? Remember that crazy scientist guy? He introduced something called chaos theory. And he said, nature will find a way. And what happened? Nature found a way. They found a way to reproduce. COVID put us all in a room and said, thou shalt not leave. You shall not leave. You will engage in this 12 by 12 room and you will like it. And what do? We found a way. We rushed to the digital world. And so whether you're talking about digital payments or the digital real estate or NFTs, the digitization, people found a way to connect through the digital world, and it's not going away. It's too late. Yes, the Matrix is here. Yes, there's some kids watch them online, just watch them online. They're loving it. And when I say kids, these are 45-year-old men. The gaming population, it's out the bag. So that has a profound implication on what you do when you're talking about a cognitive city. So Amazon has already recognized this. We see it all the time. Amazon went what? They went digital first. We struggle with this concept. We talk about a city. Oh, we got to build a city. We got to talk about how many population. It's physical. What do you mean, Joseph? It's digital? No, it has to be a physical. That's how we measure our population, physical. Amazon, Facebook, Meta now, Google. What do? Apple, what do? They already solved this problem. They figured this out a long time ago. They said, we go digital first. They built Amazon digitally, and then what do? Then they built the physical store to enhance the digital. That is how you have to rethink. You got to rethink your enterprises. What is your digital version of your enterprise? That is what you have to rethink. It's not about, I love that people say, well, Joseph, what's the remote working policy? They lost. Anytime somebody says remote working policy, they don't get it. There's no such thing as remote work anymore. That's gone. It's results-only work environment. Somebody said, well, Joseph, if they're in engineering and they have to put a fiber optic line down the street, down the sideway in Neom, they have to be in Neom, right? They have to be in Neom, right? I mean, they got to be there. You know what I said? If you can find me somebody that can sit in Timbuktu and control a robot and figure out how to dig a pipeline from their house, that's the guy I want to hire. Right? That's the big difference. It's a major shift in thinking. So if I told you the number one use of a cell phone 10 years ago would not be to make a phone call, you would have said you're crazy. You don't use a phone to make phone calls anymore. Right? Number one use is web pages, applications. By 2025, you will talk more with a chatbot than you do with your own spouse. Maybe you don't realize you're talking to chatbots. I can see that now. Right? That's what's going to happen. And then if you look at Fortune 500 companies, Assets on the books right now, assets on the books. 90% of their assets are intangible. That's a 5x increase over what it was in 1980. Digital first. It's easy to say, but it's hard to really do. Digital first. So how are we doing on the digital side? How are we doing on it? How are we doing on digital? I mean, we have this, my sister, she had a son, his name is Malcolm. Love Malcolm. Little Mau. He can't say Joseph, so he calls me Uncle Jojo. So Uncle Jojo, he's gonna spend some time at Uncle Jojo's house. It was great. I'm super excited to see my nephew. It's gonna be a great time. But my sister didn't tell me one thing. She didn't tell me that he had school that day. So in my mind, I'm still thinking, I'm gonna take the kid and I'm gonna drop him off at school because that's what you would do. That's not, she was laughing. That's not what happened. What happened? Had a 5-year-old kid. I got to sit in a chair, keep him occupied as he looks at his little screen and tries to talk to a teacher and his other friends for 4 hours? Are you kidding me? That's the digital experience that we have. Or my favorite line of all, are you on mute? I must say that 1,000 times a day. Are you on mute? 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 Can you see me? Are you on mute? Can you see me? Are you on mute? That's our digital experience. Or I love the new clotheslines. The pajama wardrobes, right? That's our digital experience. That's what we've created. That's what we've come to know. And so there has to be something better. There has to be something different, and there is. It's this notion of being able to virtualize the real and realize the virtual. It's this notion of understanding that when you become digital, the laws of economics change. Labor, not scarce anymore. Land, not scarce anymore. Capital, freely available. Land, labor, and capital in the physical world, those are your constraints. Those are what depends and controls your decision-making. Those are no longer the case when you shift to a digital world. So that means if you're running a city now, your challenge is understanding that a cognitive city is not powered by traditional city economics. It doesn't work. What works? It's a platform. It's platform economics. It's a platform. The more users, the more interactions, the more data, the more valuable the platform. That is the economic shift that has to occur. You say, oh my God, how are you going to pay for NEOM? What are the economics of NEOM? And I laugh because they start with what? $1 per square foot. Like $1 per square foot does not fund a $1 trillion project. What dollar per square foot calculation do you know will fund a $1 trillion project? But there are such things as $1 trillion tech companies that leverage data, insight, and information to create unique experiences. And the more people that engage in that platform, the more valuable it becomes. So let me give you a sense of what this platform is.
Come on a voyage of discovery to a world of cognitive mixed reality, where life integrates seamlessly across the physical and virtual to optimize how we live, work, and play. A revolutionary urban living model with state-of-the-art city infrastructure and an advanced cognitive digital twin. Unique digital human transitions and multiple customizable virtual and real experiences. Augmented cognitive virtual environments, and a digital to real-world asset ownership and monetization opportunities. Extend your life beyond the reaches of merely the physical for a way of life enriched like no other. Curate your new cognitive reality. NEOM, tech and digital, virtualizing the real and realizing the virtual.
Okay, so metaverse. What is a metaverse? Virtual life, virtual world. Yes, half right. Half right. What's the other thing about a metaverse? What has to happen? What makes a metaverse unique? Because it's just a video game, which is virtual, right? You can buy assets. Okay, now you're right onto it. A metaverse, by definition, has to tie the virtual with the physical world. That's the difference. It has to tie the two. If it doesn't, you're just on a web page, right? Decentraland, all these metaverse, they're not metaverses. They're just virtual worlds. But they like the metaverse name, right? But a metaverse has to tie the virtual with the physical. So let me give you an example. Okay, so this guy, Joseph Bradley, told me about some place somewhere in northwest part of Saudi Arabia called Neom. But I'm in New York. I'm not getting on the plane going out there and flying to see that place. I like Joseph. He's a nice guy. But wait a minute. I got it. I can go on the Xverse. If I go on the Xverse, I can see Neom. Okay, let me go check it out. Oh, this is cool. I get to actually see the physical world of Neom virtually. So I'm looking at it. It's great. Oh, you know what? I'm going to buy a virtual apartment. I'm going to buy this apartment. Sounds good. I'm going to get a chance to interact. I like cars. This whole community, this apartment is all geared around automobiles. This is awesome. And we're sharing NFTs. We're posting content on. I'm loving it. I'm having a great time. All in the Xverse. This is great. And then what happens? And then Neom sends me a note that says, hey, if we get 5% more people that buy this virtual apartment, we're going to build a real thing. I go, hey, this could be kind of cool. So I start sending to all my friends on Meta and everybody else, hey, you should buy this. Lo and behold, ding, 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 ding. They hit the number and they say, we are going to build the real apartment. You're like, this is awesome. But this Joseph Bradley guy, he told me the weather is supposed to be pretty nice. I don't know. I'm in Houston in the US, and Houston is humid and it's cold. I don't know. Is it really that nice? I don't want to get on a plane and go find out. So what do? I got it. Let me go back to Xverse. I'm going to upgrade my subscription. Guess what? I can upgrade my subscription, and now I can appear as a hologram. Oh, this is cool. So I take that option. So now I'm walking down the street, right where the building's going to be. I'm in their lobby, and I get a chance to interact with other folks that are going in there in real time, considering to buy the property. I say, hey, how's the weather? They go, oh, it's great, man. It's really nice. It's mild. Yeah, it's really light. And you decide, hey, it's worth an opportunity to go buy the property. That's just one experience that you can enable through Xverse. If you're in your roles, here's the point. Cities are limited by physical resources, by the amount of labor, even count employees and people and citizens in your city. It's limited by the physical infrastructure that you can visit. Xverse is not limited in that fashion whatsoever. You can create as much of it as you want. And who does the building? You have an infinite source of labor pools. Anyone can come in and create that building, that asset, that technology. You have that. It is fundamentally a different view of the world. And so if you think about whether you're talking about this from a city perspective or whether you're talking about it as an enterprise, what is your virtualized business? How are you going to attract and conduct that business virtually? Everything that exists in the physical world can be and will be replicated in the virtual world. Got to understand what's happening right now. What does that mean? When you buy shoes, you can buy them in the virtual world. Everything. And there's no regulation right now. Do you understand? Take your economy and go times 3. Everything that you have. The person, you have an avatar, you can dress them up, you can buy cars, you can buy everything you can do in the physical world. Everything can be replicated and sold and produced in the virtual world. So if you're running a city, you got to think about that. Now, what about policing? How do you police the virtual world? Because you're going to have to. You're going to have to. Some a lot of smart folks. We just hired our first chief of the virtual world. She's super good. Thinking about things like how close do you allow another avatar to get to another one? Yes. Harassment cases. Absolutely they've been. Absolutely they've been. These are big issues. These are huge issues. So how do you get at that? But to get an ethics board. If you're going to build a cognitive city, you're going to end this virtual world, ethics. You got to get a bunch of different people from different perspectives. Ethics. That is a huge, huge issue right now that you got to work through, right? But this is the price of admission. It's super exciting, but that's the price of admission. Okay, so I'll leave you with these three things. So cognitive city is incredible. The opportunities are great. It's predictive, it's proactive, whether it's a city or whether it's an enterprise. Got to focus on trust. You got to build trust through your employees, through your citizens, but you have to fundamentally build trust. Critical. You also have to understand that you have to shift your mindset. 7 months ago, when I was talking about metaverse, they thought I was crazy. They're like, yo, so what are you talking about, man? Not gonna fund anything. Matrix, you tech guys out there. Then all of a sudden, Facebook became Meta. Boop, 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 bing. Now everybody wants one. You got to change your mindset though, because it's hard for us to say that. What do you mean digital first? You mean something that's digital can be worth more than the physical? Yes. And the way you can prove this to yourself is knowing what you are going to do is more valuable than what you actually do. She's selling cars. He's selling cars. This whole row is selling cars. All these people are potential buyers, but I know he's the only one that's going to buy right now. I know that. He's the only one that's going to buy right now. How many cars are you going to buy? One car. She's got to pay me for that. He's got to pay me. He's got to pay me. He's got to pay me. She's got to pay me. This whole section got to pay me, but he's going to buy one car. Knowing what you're going to do is more valuable than what you do. And then finally, the sources of value are different. Do not, just like you wouldn't evaluate a startup using a traditional IRR metrics that you would put on a traditional company, you cannot value a virtual asset the same way you do a physical one. It is a platform play. Land, scarcity, employment, all those things no longer apply in that valuation. So let me get really personal. What that means is, as I tell my peers all the time, they argue with me, you're not going to buy an apartment in Neom. You're not going to buy a house in Neom. You're going to subscribe to one. That's a little different. You're going to subscribe to one. Because a home is what? It's a set of services, set of expectations, set of experiences. You walk into a gym. What is a gym? It's a set of services that you need at the time. Then that gym goes away, and what does it become? It becomes a bank. Why? Because it's a set of services. It's what it provides to you. Would Google ever sell its platform? No. Why is that? Because the more people that use it, the more valuable it becomes. The economics of cognitive cities change dramatically your view of the world. So I'll leave you with this. Oftentimes, everyone asks me, so how do you predict all this stuff? Are you a futurist? You got a crystal ball? Can you see what's happening? I wish that was the answer. Don't worry about what you don't know. Don't lose any sleep over that. Don't worry about that. But wake up each and every day and fundamentally challenge what it is that you believe to be true. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for this very energetic presentation. Does anyone have any questions? There's one.
Thank you for the presentation, Joseph. One quick question, particularly on the data exchange platform. And the reason why I'm asking is not only coming from building the complex data exchange platform or from UC Berkeley, where we are forced to think about it. So go Bears. My point is that, and before I raise the question, I would like to just establish one thing. The default state of data in any business is liability. In Cogniticity, how do you build that from liability to the value and to the trust?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So hopefully everybody got that question. There was a piece of paper that was done by my friends at Gardner. Is the liability of big data is too great. I start laughing. I'm like, oh, who sponsored that? Google? The most valuable companies in the world are those companies that has and house your data. The consent issue that you have to deal with right now, the trust issue, is how you manage that very problem. You have to recognize upfront that you are a custodian of the information. It is not yours. By definition, it is that individual's. You have to recognize that. And you have to recognize that they have to have a deeper layer of consent. That means they have to understand exactly what you're using it for, why you're using it, and what you're going to create value for. That is not an end user license agreement that's 55 pages and you click accept. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. Liability issue. One of the ways in which you can get away from the liability issue, not totally, but one of the ways we're dealing with that is through the use of what's called synthetic data, right? So synthetic data is real data, but it's not tied to an actual real person. So you need lots of data to create machine learning models. Well, some really, really smart person came up with the fact that there's not enough real world data points. So if I create another model that can actually create data points and I feed that into the model that needs a lot of data points, it's actually more accurate than a model that used real live information. And then why is that? That's because you should know we live now in a world where there is no such thing as anonymized data. So if someone tells you that the data is anonymized, that is not a fact. That is factually not true. Because AI is at a point now where we can, in fact, figure out who you are and where you are. So the way you deal with that, consent management platform upfront, very clear, you have to deal with consent. Consent is critical to that. And you can augment that use through synthetic data. You can also do things, edge computing is also really critical. So one of the things in Meld, I'll give you a classic example. So you're a Westerner, you come to Neom, you're on the beach, you take a picture, you go, this is great, but you don't realize a Muslim woman with her kids, she's changing her tire in the background. You think, no big deal. You don't know. So you just put it on Meta and you put it on everywhere else and you're just going all around and they're like pissed. I had a horrible experience. Okay, so if you have Meld would say, you took that picture, it is your picture, but you did not have rights over her likeness. And so before that picture is taken to the cloud, her image would be dissolved and the backfill filled in. So you can do things of that sort once you have the platform, the consent management platform that's ingrained into the network as well. So those are some examples, but the big thing is consent. Consent is the big deal. Yeah. Yes. Consent is you're there and you're going to have to get. I mean, even with metadata now, we take the AI can take a picture of Neom. When we do today, it takes a picture of Neom. It categorizes everything. No human touches it, and looks it out, and then says, "Hey, guess what? You're at 27% complete, or 37% complete, 47% complete." But in all that process, though, it also has to look for consent. What if you got somebody walking? Can I show them on the Google map that I get their consent to? She's walking with 3 kids. Oh, it's a night. This person's come out of this cabin. Should they be in that cabin? Uh-oh. I was just using it for a construction management tool. That's what happens when you don't have a consent management platform. Okay, good. Other questions? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Bilal. I'm just curious because you spoke a lot about metaverse and that sort of technology and then virtual and all. I'm just curious if you guys are actually have some sort of a link where we can just go ahead and jump in and.
Yeah. Okay, so the question is do you guys have a link where you can jump in and go check it out? Yes, we actually do. Fortunately, it's not public because the master plans are not public yet. But once those master plans and the Ground Prince feels that those are public, then it'd be more than happy to allow you to get a chance to interact with it. But the Xverse is an actual platform. We didn't get into this because it's not a product sale, but the platform that we built basically says that we recognize that you may want to create your Xverses on your own, like a website, or you may go to Sandbox or Decentraland to create your metaverses. So Xverse allows you to portal information between those platforms, right? Which is when you really get down to it. So it basically says, whatever your experience is, it allows you to create a digital asset and be able to maintain a consistent experience as you go across. It's a platform that allows you to build metaverses. And so that's what the core product is. But yes, we do have a side, just that the drawings have not been released publicly yet. Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want your opinion on Apple's efforts in regards to privacy conservation about, the identifiers and anonymization and mathematical algorithms. Do you think that's helping the privacy paradox, or it doesn't matter?
So he said, what do you think about Apple? All their algorithms and everything, do you think is helping the privacy paradigm? First of all, I got to tell you, I got a lot of Apple stock. So don't listen to the word I just said, because I got to disclose that, right? I own Apple stocks. So I got to be careful about that. So let me be clear. I can't comment on Apple. I will tell you this. I believe that the days of black box algorithms are gone. And what I mean by that is saying that you have an algorithm that no one understands doesn't help. And I tell this to my team all the time. An algorithm does not go to jail. An algorithm can be responsible, but not accountable. A human being, at the end of the day, if we make a mistake, they're not going to go punish the algorithm. They're not going to sue the algorithm. They're not going to fire the algorithm. They're coming to me. So what does that mean? That means that if I do not have the ability to explain why an algorithm made a decision, that is my responsibility. That's on me. So the challenge that you have is you start getting neural networks, you start getting all this real fancy stuff. It gets really complicated really fast. Is at the end of the day, we as a human have to understand why that event did what it did. So autonomous driving is going to bring this to a huge head. Do you hit the passenger? Do you hit the person walking the street? Do you save that person's life? And you give the life of the driver? Or do you, in that split second, does it save the life of the driver and take away the life of the citizen? When that happens, what are you going to do? You're going to put the algorithm on a jury trial? You're going to put all this evidence together and say, bad algorithm, bad algorithm? No. And so those are the things that I think that, the challenge is that it has to be explainable. So I think Apple is doing the right thing by disclosing and really getting at those privacy parameters, allowing you to see and get an understanding of what they are. But at the same time, they have to go much further so that you truly understand what you're consenting to. Yes. 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 Same. You get the same issue. You get the same. You're not going to run away from the issue. I mean, like I said, can you imagine being in the board meeting? Can you imagine being in the board meeting with Facebook? Can you imagine that? And can you imagine saying that we made a mistake so that we got to ditch the brand? Can you imagine that? But that tells you how important, how valuable trust is, right? Yes.
Hi, Joseph. Thank you for a very inspirational speech. I'd like to ask, if I'm a person that doesn't give any consent, any permission,
Yeah.
am I able to live in Neom City?
Yes, but you're not going to like it. Yeah, you're not going to like it. I mean, and the reason I say that is look, you might enjoy the beautiful scenery, but the reality of the world is if you don't opt to participate, you can come and you can live. There's no thing that says you can't. But the reality is the whole experience of the city probably doesn't appeal to you, because there's a lot of other places you can go. A lot of other places you can go where it's not the case. The other thing is, I think, but you guys are all gonna have to make those decisions though. But you're gonna have to make the same decision. No, you won't. But you're gonna have to make the same decision, even besides Neom. I think in general. Do you know what the world is gonna be like if you opt out? Just think about it. Are they gonna stop sending you information? Are they gonna stop sending you information? No. But what's gonna be? What are they gonna do? They're going to send you wrong information. They're not going to stop. They're not going to like, oh, no, they're just going to send you a bunch of different stuff. We don't know what she wants. Just keep sending her stuff till she buys something. So it is definitely something that, again, I think, again, we as a tech community have to solve this consent management issue. And if we can solve that and we can begin to gain trust, then I think we'll be fine. Okay? Thank you, guys.